annual Women in Manufacturing Conference. It is a pleasure to be here, and it is an absolute honor to be the stand-in speaker for Julie Freem, President of OESA. I think most of you may be familiar with OESA. OESA is an organization that champions the voice and business interests of the suppliers in the automotive industry. I am a member of the OESA Procurement Council. I'm also a member of AWA. I am not yet a member of Women in Manufacturing, although I suppose that's probably on the cards, right, Alison? Okay, so let's get right down to it. Mentalistic in the matrix. That's an interesting topic. But before we do that, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Intiva, because you have to go through the corporate slide first, right? Okay, Intiva. Intiva is a company where innovation, technology, and value meet to provide over 90 customers globally with interior systems, roof systems, closures, motors, and electronics. We have grown rapidly. We were born in 2008 at the height of the recession. Since then, we have tripled our size, global footprint, and customer base. The innovation spirit that existed with our forefathers remains in our DNA today, and we couple that with creativity, continuous improvement, and collaboration to drive change at Intiva. So I'm here today to talk about mentalistic in the matrix. I just love saying that, because every time I say it, I look at people and they look at me like, what on earth are you talking about? And I'm going to suggest today that we all buy long black leather coats, call ourselves Trinity, and aggressively take on men in suits and sunglasses? Yeah. Yes, I knew Elizabeth would be right there with me this morning. Sadly, no, I am not. What I am going to suggest is that we explore the role of the female leader in the ever-changing automotive industry today. So let's talk a little bit about this ever-changing automotive industry. We will experience more change in the next 5 years in the automotive industry than we have in the past 50. More in the next 5 than the past 50. Think about that. That's a tremendous amount of change. Electronic vehicles in 2016 experienced sales increases of over 41%, selling 777,000 vehicles in 2016 with 30 different product offerings. Did you even know there were 30 different product offerings of EV vehicles out there? It's astounding. By 2035, there will be 54 million autonomous vehicles on the road. That's a tremendous amount of change that we all have to get our minds around. The consumers are changing. The way in which we interact with the vehicle is changing. No longer are we looking for that big hunk of metal that sits in our garage. We're looking for infotainment. We're looking for a means of getting from A to B. We've all heard the conversations about it's about the pod now. It's about working in an office. It's a pod about getting from A to B. It's no longer about aspiring to these brands. And again, getting that hunk of metal that sits in the garage that we all know. We've known this for years. It's the worst financial decision that we ever make in our lifetime, right? But we all do it. We lose at least 10% the second that we drive it off the lot. But we all do it. Attitudes are changing. The way that we interact with the vehicle, our expectations, the consumer demand, it is all changing. In 2015, over 15 million people experienced a ride-sharing experience with Uber and Lyft. 15 million people? That's a tremendous change in the way in which we interact with our vehicles. So it's not just about the demand as we've known it in the past. We have to talk about the demand in the future and who's driving that demand. two groups of people are really driving that demand. It's the baby boomers. So the baby boomers are moving into cities, and now they're starting to get more familiar with Uber and Lyft and the mobility type of services that are out there. And it's also the millennials. But the millennials are a little bit restricted. They have income, they have debt, and they no longer have the brand loyalty that we once knew. All of that is changing. So that will change the demand. We think about this. At first, when I started hearing these numbers and statistics, I thought, oh no, our beloved industry is going to start to shrink. The demand for vehicles is going to start to decline. What does this mean? If everybody's sharing, what's going to happen to the auto industry? Well, in a KPMG study, they actually say that the number of miles traveled by 2035 will increase by 1 trillion. What? So what's driving this? It's our attitudes and the change in the way in which we look at mobility and the way that we interact with the vehicle. Now we have a full spectrum of mobility that we never had before. We're going to be putting our kids in Ubers. Pause for reaction. All the moms in the rooms are going, right? I know, I have a 14-year-old and the same thing too. But it's happening. More and more people are doing it. Our attitudes are changing. We're putting kids in Ubers, and we're going to do more of that, and because it's opening up mobility options to us. The other end of the spectrum with our elderly parents. Remember the time when you have that conversation with your parents and you're concerned about them driving and you don't want them to drive? I mean, it's a very real concern. We won't have to worry about that. Once we evolve, we'll be able to, again, it's a mindset switch, right? To start to put elderly parents and elderly people into Uber. Imagine the possibility, the spectrum of mobility that is now opened up. The change is real, and it's here, and it's tremendously exciting. And we all know it, and we're all engaging with it in a different way. But what's really important, and what I really want to talk about today, is we're setting the stage with the change in the automotive industry. But it's how we embrace that change. And the one key essential element that's driving all of this, all of the new technology and the millennials and all the things that we hear about, the underpinning of all of it is speed. One very, very simple word, speed. But that's what it's going to be about. No longer don't think about the automotive industry in its traditional terms. Think iPhone on wheels, not car with electronics. That's a huge switch in our thinking. Gary Silberg from KPMG has a paper and a theory. It's called the clock speed dilemma. And anybody that was at the OESA conference last year, you will have seen his presentation. Some real thought-provoking studies and information that he put out there. And basically he says this, that no longer will we have the 5 to 7 year platform cycles that we have in automotive. Those days are gone. Where we take years and years to change things, we have to deal with capital investment, and we have a very structured process. Those of you in automotive will know this. When we manage changes, and everything is sequential and linear, and we know how to do it, and we've been doing it for the last, I don't know how many decades, right? All of that has to change. If you've ever dealt with companies like Tesla and some of the EV companies out there, they can't handle that platform cycle. They can't handle the traditional ways of automotive. They need change, and they need it now, and they want it to happen immediately, because that is how our society is operating now. It's this immediate need for information and response. So when we talk about the companies that we have to do business with right now, we think of the startups in California, right? We think about these electronic companies that we're bringing into the automotive industry. What we're talking about now is more of a matrix type structure. We are in what I would refer to as a supply matrix. So we've got all these different types of relationships, startups, investment companies, alliances, And in this supply matrix, it's moving constantly. And again, remember, the underpinning to all of this is speed. It's driving change and it's speed. And the ways of the automotive industry are a thing of the past. We will not be able to compete in the future. So we have to figure out how to work in this environment. Because we've been working in such a traditional way in the automotive industry in the past, and we know it so well. And we know how to behave. And we know the behaviors of leaders in that environment. But what are some of the behaviors and some of the traits of leaders in this new matrix environment? What does that look like? To lead in this matrix structure, leaders will have to be visionary. They will have to be coaching, guiding, mentoring. Not so much of the command and control, task-oriented, remember, linear and sequential operations, the way that we've done things in the past. Because the new world, the new industry of automotive will not handle that, it will not tolerate it, we will not survive. So we have to change, the environment changes, the way in which we lead in the environment changes, and the type of leader changes. In a new matrix structure, the leader will have vision, will have more transparency, because you'll need transparency. Because we can't play games anymore with information, we're going to have to be open about it. The underpinning of transparency is trust. We'll have to depend more on trust, and collaboration will be key. So these are some of the characteristics of a leader in the new matrix structure. What are the traits that go along with that? We're talking about EQ, emotional intelligence. Some of the traits of a successful leader in the matrix structure will be empathy, conflict management, influence and self-awareness. Because remember, the leader in the matrix structure now is managing many different interdependencies and interconnected points, different kinds of people, different types of organizations, all coming in, all moving, all at the same time in this complex way. Again, the longer, linear, and sequential. So, I pose this question to you. Is it possible, with all of the EQ elements that we have in play right now, is it possible that the female leader is perhaps in a better position to lead now in this new environment than we have been in the past?
Yes.
I didn't even pay you to say that. Okay, so let's take a look at two types of leadership and two types of thinking. The male brain is, did somebody chuckle? Oh, no, okay. No heckling allowed.
You said the male brain. I'm
Yes.
sure they have.
I knew. My apologies to all the men in the room on Elizabeth's behalf. Okay. The male brain is characterized by more systemizing. It's a systemizing type of approach. The female brain is characterized by empathy, empathizing approach. So we refer to the male thinking as being more mechanistic. So analyzing, constructing, task-oriented, rules, order. It's more transactional type leadership. The female is more, follows more of the EQ type, transformational type leadership. Understanding, connecting, EQ, resonating, all these kinds of attributes that we see that are more associated with female tendencies. Now, I'm not going to suggest that for 1 minute that one is right or one is wrong or one is good or one is bad. Absolutely not. And we all have elements of both. These are just tendencies that go along with the gender. And it's all about balance. So we need to have balance. But what I am suggesting is that the traits in the female brain are more suited to leading and will certainly help us to lead in this matrix environment. Okay. I'd like to give you an example. Because we've come a long way in this industry, haven't we, Elizabeth?
Yes, we have.
We're not related, by the way. We have sort of the same last name, but I have the S and she doesn't, in case anybody's wondering. Everybody know who that is?
Yes. First lady to run the airline.
Thank you.
Try to pull her out.
Exactly, exactly. So this is Catherine Schweitzer, and I think this example is extremely timely because she ran the marathon a week ago today, right? So Catherine Schweitzer, if you see that the guys, see that, look how nasty that guy looks there, right? These are the officials at the Boston Marathon, and they are pulling her off the track. Because women were not allowed to run a marathon 50 years ago. I didn't even know that until I saw this actually running on Facebook when it came out last week. So imagine, again, I go back to a statement I made earlier, right? And that is, we will see more change in the next 5 than we have in the past 50. So 50 years ago, so a week ago today, she ran the marathon. And then, of course, you know, her story has been in the news. I think it's a very, very powerful example. And I believe that we need to embrace this change. This is the time. This is it. It's exciting. There's so much going on in the automotive industry today, and there's so much going on with leadership today. We need to embrace the change. The choice is yours.